Hi, and welcome back to Talk Up Your Biz. I'm Jean Noel Bassior, and we have a very special guest this segment. This is somebody whose work I know quite well. Her name is Robbie Kaye. She's a photojournalist, right? Photographer, journalist. And Robbie first came to me with a project, and we did a little bit of work together on it, and it's called Beauty and Wisdom. And she traveled around the country talking to women 70 plus, 70 years and over, who keep their appointment at the beauty salon every week, no matter what. And this was something I'd never even thought about, heard about. How did you get the idea to do that?
I was working on a series of A Day At, and I had started a day at the antique mall, a day at the junkyard, and then it came time to do a day at the beauty parlor. And I never left the beauty parlor.
Because you found there what?
Well, honestly, I went there thinking, oh, this will be fun. And when I started taking photographs of the women, I saw how much integrity and beauty and wisdom that they had, and I thought, this is going to be a different project than what I thought it was.
Because you found out, like, what did the salon mean to them?
The salon was...
or the parlor. I should say the beauty parlor.
The beauty parlor
Yeah.
was a point of connection.
Yeah.
I think it was multi-purposeful. It was connection, it was self-care, it was commitment to themselves. It was a necessity for these women when they were younger, because there were hairdos, first of all, that they could not reproduce themselves.
That's true.
And so they had to go, and
Those big beehive things. And
yeah, I talk about how when I was younger and I would go on vacation with my mom and my grandmothers, they wouldn't think of going swimming in the pool, because how could they do their hair for the night?
And they'd have to wait like a week until, or a few days till they could get back to the beauty parlor, right?
Exactly.
So, but you found also like the relationship between them and their stylists. What was that like?
Oh, that was very sacred. It was not unlike a therapist-client relationship, where they would trade. Sometimes the stylist would be the therapist, and sometimes the person in the chair would actually be the therapist. And I learned of stories where the stylist would hear about news from their client, whether it was somebody's daughter, before their mother.
Wow.
Yeah.
What were some of the amazing things that you ran into? Like, what sticks in your mind? I know you told me a few stories a few times.
I think I love to tell about Mrs. Goost, who was the wife of the Attorney General of Louisiana. And during Hurricane Katrina, all of her jewelry was looted. And she told us that, when everything goes away, everything is borrowed, and when it goes away, it's time to give it back. And I thought that was pretty profound. And she then went on to tell us about her plastic pearls. And I thought that was, a great piece of wisdom.
So she would kind of replace she was wearing plastic pearls?
She was wearing plastic pearls and quite happy, just as happy. And so it was really that detachment, and I thought it was pretty cool of her.
One of the things about your project that I really like is it's kind of easy to dismiss these women, kind of. They become invisible, or we see them and we think that's too much blue hair, that's too much makeup, maybe some of them a little heavy on the rouge or the lipstick, and sometimes we make judgments. And so that is such a surface thing. But what did you find kind of underneath that? How did these women strike you as you got to know them?
Well, I really felt that these women live their lives like, take me as I am. They have this attitude as, this is who I am, and they're very comfortable in their own skin. And, you mentioned visibility. I think the really unfortunate thing is that we do discard this generation.
We do, don't we? Yeah.
Unfortunately, we do. And, where other cultures, they actually revere their elders, and they go to their elders for counsel. So I think part of this project was about creating visibility for this generation, for older women in particular, I think older men too, of course, but I'm a woman, so I related to the women aspect, so that's my project, but really elders in general.
Yeah, there is a whole barbershop culture too, isn't there? But you kind of track them into the salons, and that's where I think what surprised you? Like, did they show a part of themselves that even you hadn't seen, or?
What surprised me was how comfortable they were with me taking their photograph with curlers or their hair wet or blown out, because, of my own vanity, of my generation's vanity. But I said, is it okay if I take your photograph for this project? They're no problem.
Really?
Well, not everybody, but I have
Most
to.
of them?
I have to say most of them. Yeah, Mrs. Goost actually would not let me take her photograph until she was out of the dryer.
But then she's married to a political guy, so maybe that's
Yeah, well, I don't think it was political anymore, but I think it was just her, and that was fine. Completely honored that.
So, why this is a part of American culture too that you're preserving, because actually, do you think that the beauty parlor, I mean, the name beauty parlor is kind of already gone, but what do you think is going to happen? Is this going to, this is going to kind of die out with that generation, or?
I think it will phase out. I recently, the most recent photos I took were actually in Los Angeles and Santa Monica, where I used to live, and at this place called Mary Ellen's, and she's in her 70s, in her late 70s, and all her clients are older women. I think, what's going to happen when, these women pass on, I think that they'll close, and there'll come a time where there won't be salons or beauty parlors where most of their clients are of that genre.
That age, yeah. I mean, I kind of felt like you kind of opened this door into a secret part of culture that we kind of forgotten, because it is part of American cultural history. I mean, a lot of us grew up with it, with our mothers and our grandmothers going there, and it's like we don't think about it much, but suddenly maybe it's one of those things that isn't there anymore.
Yes. I think it does generate nostalgia, which is really nice, and I love to get emails and hear about people's stories about how they remember going to the beauty parlor with their mother or grandmother, and it's lovely.
Well, it's that too. It does bring back that, doesn't it?
Sure.
What about this relationship between the stylists and the people? Like, what about the stylists? Did you talk to them? What do they have to say?
I did. I interviewed the stylists, and it is really amazing because every time I ask the question, what do you love about your job? Most times it was, I love the people. And I would ask them, did you ever fire a client?
That's a good question.
And most said no, and some said, I once, and only once. So it's amazing that they go to work every day, and not only are they styling hair, but they're listening, and with this listening ear and caring. And I mean, they must be really tired when they go home because they're not just a therapist; they're also creating these hairdos, and.
Well, and I've talked to, I asked a stylist about that once because it's kind of an intimate thing that you're doing when you're touching somebody's head, their hair, and it kind of relaxes them, and then it's easier to talk. And maybe some of us kind of got that by watching our mothers, sort of just go through that, regularly,
Yeah. And I think they really enjoyed the end result. You kind of get, as the stylist, each one was so joyful about the end result when their client would just look in the mirror and see themselves. And these were women who were doing everything. I like to refer to them as silent partners during those times. Yes, some women worked, but most people their work was at home, and they were doing paperwork, and they were the family counsel and everything. And this is the one time where they could get away and go someplace where somebody said, "Can I get you a cup of coffee?"
Right.
You know?
Somebody would wait on them.
Exactly.
Right. And, then after you and I started talking about this, I started noticing stories in some of the papers. And you had been talking about how this is not a luxury, this is a necessity. So I sent you that story about a
Love
woman
it.
who crashed her car into the beauty salon. She didn't want to be late for her appointment, so she drove right in,
And she sat, and while she was in the chair, the
clearing the wreckage.
tow truck came and took her car while she was getting her hair done.
But she was on time for her
Right.
appointment. She kept it. She kept
Right.
her appointment.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, this is real, folks. It really is.
Right.
You were really onto something there.
Right. I
you know?
love that. I love that.
Yeah, yeah. I think I saw another one that was similar to that too. But you kind of made me aware of, it was kind of like, I guess, keeping a therapist appointment or something.
Yeah, I talk about, and we've talked about when I was in the South, and I was in Texas, and I was speaking with this woman, Vera, and she told me how she scheduled her hair appointment around her cancer, her
Right.
husband's cancer appointments.
Right, right.
And the same woman, when I said, what would stop you from why would you miss an appointment? And in her very Southern accent, she said, I'd be dead. and then she said, and then even when I was dead, Kathy would still come to my house and do my hair for my funeral.
I mean, yeah, it's just so, the connection is so very real, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I imagine that some of the long-term relationship. What was the longest-term relationship between a stylist and a client that you came across?
There were several where they were working with one client for at least 50 years.
50 years? Wow. I thought you were going to say like 40, but 50?
No, 50 years. I think in Memphis, Eunice, and even Mary Ellen, who's 78 in Santa Monica, she's been working with the same clients for 50 years.
Wow.
Can you imagine? Once a week. They probably know each other so much better than anybody else.
Right. Does it ever extend outside the salon? Like, do they come to birthday parties? And
Yes. In this particular case with Eunice, she would go to the movies with some of her clients, and they were comrades. They were companions. One of her clients gave her a car.
A car?
Yeah,
Wow.
because she was going, and it was a younger client, I think, and she was going to school, and she told her parents, who are also clients of hers, I really want to give this car to Eunice. And they did. So it's familial.
It's extended family, isn't it?
I think so,
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. So how can people get in touch with you, and when is the book coming out?
The book will be released on Amazon.com November 20th. And people can pre-order on my website if they go to www.robbiekaye.com, and if they go to Works, and then there's a little button called Books, or they can go to my blog, which is beautyofwisdom.com. My email is robbie@robbiekaye.com.
Spell your name because there's
okay. ROBBIEKAYE.
Okay. RobbieKaye.com is the website, right?
Right.
Right. And just in the minute that we have left, you actually, even before the book, because on this show we talk about how you kind of get the word out about your business. I mean, you got into galleries, right? You've actually been out there promoting what you do for a while, right?
Right. Well, right. Before the book aspect,
Yeah.
I went to a photo review, actually in Portland, where I got to present my photographs in front of reviewers. And it turned out to be really, really wonderful. I was lucky enough to have a show in Portland. And from there, I just, 3 years later, I was just asked to present Beauty and Wisdom at the Griffin Museum in Boston. So that will be in March.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, so that's we'll have you back on the book beat then around that time.
Love it.
So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
It's RobbieKaye.com. Her photography is really inspirational. It makes you feel good. Really check it out. It's I'm not just saying that. It's a good way to start the day.
Thank you.